But tonight we're here to welcome two poets, Carol Potter and Carol Westberg. How we worked out with two Carols in one night, I don't know. I'm going to do a brief introduction of both of them, and then they'll each have the floor for a segment of time. When they're done speaking and the chairs are all out of the way, the books are at the front with the refreshments, but they're going to stay back here to sign books so we can use the whole space. And there's homemade cookies at the front. I hear they're very good. Okay, first of all, Carol Potter's going to read. And currently living in Vermont's Northeast Kingdom, Carol was born and raised in northwestern Connecticut and earned her BA in English Journalism, Women's Studies at the University of Massachusetts, and her MFA from the Program for Poets and Writers, also at UMass. She taught at Holyoke College for 17 years and currently teaches at the MFA program at Antioch University in LA, as well as community college here in Vermont and Newport. She's the winner of the 2014 Field Poetry Prize from Oberlin College. This book, Some Slow Bees, is the winner of the 2014 Field Poetry Prize from Oberlin College Press, and it's her 5th book of poetry. Her poems have been published in numerous journals and anthologies, and she's been recognized by a lot of prestigious awards, including the Pushcart Prize. And from doing the research on her background, her various writing residencies have taken her some very exotic places. I was very jealous. One reviewer, Betsy Scholl, stated, "These tales in Some Slow Bees are told with such speed everything unnecessary falls away, and what's left is pure honey with the sting of revelation." That was a great quote. And she will be followed by Carol Westberg. And Carol was born in Berkeley, California, and grew up on a farm in Iowa. And she earned degrees from Duke, her BA, her master's in teaching from Stanford, and her master's in poetry from Vermont College. She has worked as communication director at numerous places, the Vermont Law School. She was a director of creative services at Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth. And at one point, which I didn't know, she was an editor at Little Brown. She lives in Hanover. And Terra Infirma is her 2nd book, and it was a finalist for the 2014 Tampa Review Prize for Poetry. Her previous collection, Slipstream, was a finalist for the New Hampshire Literary Award for Outstanding Book of Poetry, and she also has published poems in many, many of the prestigious journals that we've all heard of. And writing about Terra Infirma, Mark Cox, the reviewer, said, "These unabashedly musical, deeply felt poems are wise enough to embrace sorrow, but remain, to use Carol's words, fierce to live." Please join me in welcoming Carol and Carol.
Actually, I live in Corinth. I did live in the Northeast Kingdom for a while. And there's a couple poems there in this book. So thank you for turning out. It's, can you hear okay? Yeah. What a great gathering. And thank you for organizing this, Liza. The first poem I'm going to begin with is a poem called The Good Pig. And it's, kind of comes from wondering how it is that children actually put together some sort of understanding of the world after, all the stories we read to them with the little animals wearing their little people outfits and everybody figuring out their problems and everything ending well. So this is called The Good Pig. Might have been the books we read as children, our confusion about human protocol, who calls whom, what to do now, etc. All those animals dressed in human clothes, the kid with the animal snout and beaver teeth, fur all over his body, but dressed in blue overalls, droopy donkey and humming fat bear, everybody chatting one to the other, bad bunny, jealous bear sister. Maybe it was the chamomile in B. Potter's books, something about McGregor. We picked up some odd ideas about getting caught under the flower pot, losing your shoes, leaving your coat behind on the fence, one reasonable lesson after the other, and everything ending well. Don't lie down in that bed. Don't eat that porridge. Don't knock on that door. In the story, supper gets delivered to the table. You were bad and you were almost eaten. But there you are at last in the little burrow where the fire is burning, a bit of fur missing, some shame. Mother, however, seems to have forgiven you. Or let's say your house blown down, but the wolf's in the pot. Everybody huddling in the smartest pig's house, the good pig. And out the window, Thomas the train passing by, smile on his face, always pleasant, some furry hands waving from the windows. And this next poem comes from the reality of the old home economics classes that we used to have to take. Some of the seditious ways that I took up. Actually, someone did. Busybody. We were happy in the attic, nothing onerous about what we were doing. There was a bed that needed to be made in a turban grandfather had brought back from his job in the Middle East. We wore the turban and wrapped some kind of sashes around our waist because we were tomboys. We were extraterrestrials. We were tanned, hardy men. We made a pact to not be girls, to save ourselves. If there had been some kind of serum mate, perhaps, if we could have been deported from the country we found ourselves in. That was the plan. Sailors smoking opium on deck, wassailing everybody straight out of port, dolphins leaping across the bow, no lawns, no piglets, no possums, no boobs, no busybodies. We did not have the sense there was anything irregular about this. We were the sons, we were rude and fancied ourselves renegades, teasing the meek. I was an ace at it, a comma between my legs, and egress everywhere I looked. In home ec, I flattened cakes on purpose, banged pots, ripped seams. Back when you had to take that course if you were a girl, if you had what I had. Irrelevant what I wrought in that class. I let spools of thread out windows. I tossed eggs out onto the roof. You could see them there for a long time. The spent shells, the smoking yolks, all accolades were belated. I think, Dana, you had to take that same class.
That I have mental pictures.
So I'm going to read for the second section of the book. Is a series of it's an abecedarian, and where I took 12, 14 words of it, free associated a particular letter, and then made myself use those in the poem in each line. And I finally, by the time that I have finished revising, I did a little cheating on that too. But anyway, this first one's Creighton's. Cold as in not cordial. She had completely mastered the quick check to the eye. She was trying to forget those crenellations in her character she was embarrassed about. Chop suey, she replied to everything, even the names of her children. Their faces confused her, gave her no comfort. I'm calling the cops, she yelled when they confiscated the keys to her convertible. Nothing can protect you from that. From mother caught blind, driving the white line on the road, trying to converse with friends huddled in the back seat. Too many Creightons all around, she told the children congregating above her bed, watching her as if the curtain of her face were a compass and one might cultivate a piece of north and south there, something west. You can hear this okay?
Mm-hmm. I can't.
Well, raise your hand.
Louder.
Could you
Kara.
speak more into the mic? It's hard to hear back here.
Is it too low, maybe? Anyway, I'll try. What? Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So next one's lizards. Set in the desert. I lived in the desert outside Palm Springs for a little while, back and forth to a boat in Marina del Rey. This one's called Lizards. Lesbians, they say, have it easy, but it's a marriage like any other marriage. Love it, she told me, but I didn't. I went lunging across the irrigated lawn, no longer wanting to be lugubrious about anything. I sent the letter to one thinking it was the other, and now I'd like to be leaving this corner in the wind. Leaks spring in the heart, in the head, in the lungs. I would lay it down in the sand on the corner, but my hand touches leather when I feel inside it. I won't forget her lips on mine, nor what we promised each other. There were no locusts in the story. There were fires on the mountains, lizards running along the tops of the walls, a landscape neither of us knew how to keep. Tats. As in tattoos. In truth, I don't understand the etiquette of tattoos, what I'm supposed to do around them. Study them or pretend I don't see. Like love bites, the way we don't stare at a stranger's hickey, the way we wouldn't think to mention it. To study someone's skin like that. The nurse in the office last week with a story on each arm, something drawn elbow to wrist, but in a glance I had no idea what it was. He took my blood pressure, asked me questions about my mood, my mother's failing heart, my job, something you can see in the bed with someone, skin to skin. Reaching behind a student yesterday, her shoulders exposed, though it's January. I saw she had words written on her upper back, several lines of script shoulder to shoulder, and a little splash of some kind of drawing, but I pretended I hadn't seen anything. It's not appropriate to study a young woman's exposed flesh, the stud in her tongue flashing at me each time she said the word stuck. She was stuck on some problem she'd been having in English, the stud like something bobbing in the ocean. You're not sure you see it, then you do, then you don't. The places we aren't supposed to look, trained as we are to avert the eyes, as if only for the lover, turning the naked body in his or her arms to study the colors, the writing and the drawing, not to be salacious, caught staring. What's the protocol, public or private, the intimacy of the writing there, those pretty pictures on the calf, the bicep, top of the ass. There's a promise. You could read the person if you could only take the person into your arms. You could study the script on her, the pictures, like reading any code, the way we look into a lover's eyes, as if to see the story there at the back of the pupil talking to us. The way we put our mouth on the lover's mouth, as if to breathe in what the person has inside there, so you could know. It is the act of knowing. It is the Adam and Eve of it, the apple on the tree, the promise that somehow we could start naming what this is, what we do together here. So, I'm going to read, that's a short poem kind of based on a painting by Gail Boye-Jian. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. And it's called Distant Buffaloes. How you feel about any one thing at any given moment is a matter of perspective. The shortest distance between 2 points, parallel lines intersecting, and the vanishing point is something mathematical. You could draw it with your pencil, you can bend it, as in this painting before me, hummingbirds in the foreground, gigantic, and distant buffaloes, diminutive as cats, while the tornado bearing down over the hill is no bigger than a blade of grass. Everything in the foreground unperturbed. Even the Robert Frost man in a brown suit sitting on a log. He's looking right at us, his thick white hair glowing. Nothing to worry about, he seems to be saying, his back to the funnel dangling down like a rope, like an umbilicus, like a whip. The next, I'm going to read a couple selections from the Miss Nancy papers, which is the heroic crown, and this is a Route 91 poem. Actually, probably between the Northeast Kingdom and all the way down to Connecticut. But a song that kind of perks through this poem, this series here, is the Romper Room song, and I'll read a little bit of it. It's, I don't know if people remember that, Miss Nancy, but I'm a romper room doobie all day long. Do be a sidewalk player, don't be a street player, do be a car sitter, don't be a car stander. Do be a plate cleaner, don't be a food fussy, do be a play safe, don't be a match toucher. And it goes on, I always do what's right. I never do anything wrong. I'm a romper room doobie all day long. So this came from, this sort of gets sprung from a piece of paper flying out the window as I was flying out, driving down the road. The end of each of the sonnets, the last line is the first line of the succeeding one, and then the last crown has all of those lines, those 15 lines in it, so you want to hear it. I'm going to skip around a little bit with it. The Miss Nancy papers. On the day I decided I'd let bygones be bygones, having counted up some significant bygones, I, of course, felt suddenly relieved. I was driving south toward some of the places I'd done some things wrong in, and vice versa been done to. My dog was too damn hot. He was panting over my shoulder. Drops of water fell off his tongue onto my arm. Go sit down, I told him. It was as if he was asking over and over if we were there yet. I wasn't there yet with my list. But of bygones, I was never what Romper Room termed a doobie, and neither did I like the Mouseketeers Club, that indefatigable cheerfulness. Every one of those kids a doobie. No match touchers, no car stander-uppers, no street players. Miss Nancy liked them. And I'm skipping down to number 4. Grew up at a time, of course, when Dad smoked in the car and the kids stood on the seats. The last number 3 ends a few short years after Sputnik. A carload of don't be's, kids standing on the back seat, Dad smoking at the wheel. Dad smoking at the wheel. None of us kids with any idea where any of us might go. Some kind of blank bouncing around in the back seat. Match touchers, street players. I'd like to say I never did anything wrong, though I once shot an elastic band into Brian Hoyt's face. By mistake, of course. The teacher himself quit teaching that year. Something about the way we refused to assemble for him. We practiced fainting at recess. You can make yourself black out, crash to the floor. This was the countryside, small town America. We were already restless, and the teachers threatening us with the Russians. Bald Khrushchev banging the UN table with his shoe. Franco was alive and well. My brothers called me Butch, though I'm not really Butch. There's 5. I'm not really Butch, and neither is the dog in the back seat who is finally laying down and is licking his privates. How do you know where it all first assembles, one block of yourself at a time? Miss Nancy showed everybody how to wash our hands, but most of us were grubby anyway. "Que sera, sera," Mother sang in the front seat knitting, tiny wrappers flying out as we drove, spilled milk, water over a dam. I'm letting bygones be gone. Adios. Ciao, like a ring that flies off your finger into the sea. Not much you can do about it. I wasn't a food fussy, but it's never a good idea to eat or smoke something just because someone offers it. Hash, acid, pot, the street people whispered to us as we passed. So we made some bad choices, left some places we shouldn't have. Left some places we shouldn't have. Stayed when we should have left. Got happy, went broke. got confused, talking about my generation. We threw rocks at cop cars, got gassed in public squares, smashed some back bank windows, deserted, refused to go. Dressed like ladies when we went into the draft board, back when they wouldn't take you if you were queer. You could lose your children too, get fired. Do be a plate cleaner, Miss Nancy and her man helper sang in their grown-up voices. Don't be a job leaver, a retirement plan leaver. Doobies knows, no, there's nothing grand in store for them. They don't leave their names in public places. Their dogs don't stink. They fall in love with people that will do them some good. I'm a doobie all day long, they sang at us. There was indeed some finger wagging we needed to pay attention to. I'll skip down a couple. Wait a minute. Made some mistakes. I'm smiling at you now, my reformed self. I threw that crap from the car, got rid of it that day. What I did to whom and who did it to me. That dog I left with my ex, 3 cats. Blue skies, nothing but blue skies, my mother liked to sing. The house I sold, then the other, the girlfriends that stalked me. How nervous I made them, a don't be, of course attracted to other don't be's. All of us up to no good, daydreaming, not following directions. My dog and I were passing through one more watch for moose section of the highway. We were burning up in the car. I was thinking hard. Dog needed to get out, so we stopped at the river. When the flood came last month, it emptied the cemetery, scattered bodies downriver, along with the houses that fell into it. How we love a babbling brook, a lively little stream. I'm going to skip a little bit here. Everything perfectly fine, something chummy about it, and barely plausible. I'd like to say I know what I'm doing here and why I did what I did. Some say what they need to say when they need to say it. None of this squirrely stuff, scribbling it down in secret, holding the pages up to your face in the dark, sniffing the ink, then hiding it somewhere no one will see. There you are, lying awake next to your lover. You can't sleep. You climb quietly from the bed. You get in your car and you drive. The highway is familiar, but the trees seem to have migrated. We pass into the state I left and probably never should have. Welcome home, troops, it says. Massachusetts welcomes you. Miss Nancy would salute if she were here in the car, if there were a parade, if anyone could figure out what war we were coming home from. So I'm going to end on the final number 15. No street players, no car stander-uppers. Miss Nancy liked them. Unlike this dog who thinks it's time to stop the car, go for a swim. He's panting like a batch of kids standing on the back seat. Lie down, I growl in my best butch voice, though I'm not really butch. And yes, I made some bad choices, left some places I shouldn't have. Perhaps there was some finger wagging we ought to have paid attention to. A doobie doesn't make mistakes. Oh, so much prettier when she smiles. She's smiling at you now. How we love a babbling brook, a lively little stream, everything perfectly fine, nothing to it. We would come home if anyone could figure out what war we were coming home from. It didn't seem like a good idea to bring a child into it. As my mother was dying, I remembered about trespassing and forgiving those who trespass against us. But what do we do when we see what there is to see? It was that kind of night. The water broad and slow, our voices hushed. Thank you.
That's great. Can you hear me back there? Yeah? Okay, good. So first I also have to thank Liza and everybody at this bookstore. I think we're incredibly lucky to have a place like this. And we're really happy to have it. So one other little thank you. This book is called Terra Infirma, and this is the first time I've read in public from it. I just want to acknowledge the photographer who did the photo on the cover, and that's Leah Rothstein, who happens to be here today. If you want to, hear a little more about Iceland, where this was taken, she's the person to talk to, and so that's part of why that's on the cover. Not so firm ground. So I'm going to start with a poem that, after writing this book, I found it was one of the themes in the book. Just time. In time's maw. Careful what you ask for, like time. Always too little or too much. How do you like it now? And now? Weekends disappear into a sameness of days. March seeps away, with cat teaching me to sleep in daytime. Our conversations languid, spare. It's not how you sleep, but how much of the dream remains. The garden hose looms unattached, 2 feet from thirsting grass. I try to meditate on Caravaggio's angel, on his shining black and white wings. How did he get those wings on and off? What would you like to do today? Nothing? Is that nothing like a monk? Or nothing like a woman who lost her job and watches primetime all day? God waits in the park, on the bus. What happens when you sit and expect nothing? Do nothing but breathe. Poetry might be a reason for being, or riding around hoping to run into the perfect place for lunch. Here comes one of those words I have to look up again, like mimetic or eponymous. Can I step off the bus anywhere and still get back on? So, read a couple poems. I guess the only thing I would say about this poem is I'll read it for anybody who's ever been afraid for someone you love. And it's called Tyranny of Dreams. I don't mean to compete over whose child suffers more. Yours, bleeding hope away each month, or mine, signed up for her first shock treatment. The moon's impassive over all our children's dreams. As a mother, I know fear wraps its hands around the throat. A phone call can turn the night air to ice. Today, a fire burns in the wood stove, and Garrison Keeler jokes on the radio about SSRIs. I doubt his son ever took a razor and sliced line by line into his thigh to silence voices clamoring inside. But what do I know of his son, our daughters? They all must strive to rise each day and find 2 comfortable shoes to slip into. I've grown wary of the tyranny of dreams, but now I mean to pad downstairs for tea and toast that I'll spread thick with your wild plum jam. So, same theme, different location. So we'll go across the ocean to Italy. And the only thing I want to say about the location is, if you haven't been to Ravenna to see the mosaics, it's worth the trip. They're really amazing. And this is about a basilica called San Vitale. Postcard from San Vitale. Take this lion I send you from Ravenna. Big wilderness cat with fiery eyes and mane flourishing against indigo sky and emerald grass. See, His ribs and claws extend, teeth a-glitter, fierce to live. Take him for a talisman to deliver you from a lunatic moon. Conjure him on afternoons you feel too woozy to rise. Take his volition as your own into those desecrated days. I pray to whatever gods may hear that you not be offered up like some mystic lamb into the doomed trinity of suffering, sacrifice, and dreams of a gleaming afterlife. Take the eagle, too, winged man and ox, laid tile by tile beside the lion. Take the power of the octagon, the triangle, and the circle built into the rust black and tan mosaic floor, where I stand speechless beneath this brilliant, immaculate dome, willing you to open your eyes and stare down unfathomed distances like a predator, not prey. Okay. So one of the things that Carol and I have in common is some time on farms and some time with pigs. This is called the disruptive power of pigs. I take those pigs everywhere, under the 8 layers of my skin. Midwinter sows, piglets attached, sad-eyed Mort the boar, I ride out of the feedlot, willing him to sprout wings through his white, wiry hide. He likes his straw clean, gates open, every itch scratched. Pig nature calls him to grab the melon rind with his whole mouth. My father gives me the runt to bottle feed until it can fend for itself. Years later, under my azure coat, I carry that piglet to Istanbul and Paris. We visit alabaster geese, go snout to snout, with kin in paintings, like Bruegel's roasted pig that trots along, a carving knife slipped under its hide. Human nature calls me to open my mouth and eyes wide. The pig girl travels everywhere inside, still wanting the melon, the wings. So in the second section of the book, it's really a section that's about the death of my older brother and my father. And it opens with a poem that's really about decisions. Sometimes it's all the accumulation of little decisions that makes all the big difference, and sometimes it's, a single decision.
Carol, could you speak up just a little?
Can speak up? Okay. Can you hear better?
Yes.
Is that better? I get feedback when I get this close. Yellow door in open field. The door in the field is held upright by my saying so. Frogs before storm, wind on the rise. The door opens, and I still can't see on the other side. I decide like a deer tasting the wind. One way will be the death of me, as will the other. Smoke in sunrise, firefly on ice. Should I give my heart to the open road? There is no road, no sky to own. The yellow door remains upright. So I dedicated this book. Can you hear me? This sort of comes in and out, or I'm just maybe, okay, is that better? I dedicated this book to my older brother, Craig, and this poem was written right after he had a mountain biking accident in Arizona in January. It's called Halo. You inhale through a hole in your throat, attached to the machine that breathes for you. A silver halo drilled into your skull secures your caged body, silent as sand. They've stitched the cut that gaped from your mouth into your left cheek. You sleep as long as a drug drips into your vein. Wake to hear, see, mouth words, unable to escape pain. It's my turn to see you alone. How small you look, big brother. Hands still, legs still. I'm afraid to wake you, but touch your shoulder, wrist, foot. I worry that your swollen feet will get cold, exposed with no sheet. Then remember, they can't be a source of pain. Only a miracle could let you move again below the neck. How could you not fear this tethered life more than death? You climbed high into the Andes, cast your small plain shadow over ocean and desert, and just yesterday tore breakneck down a Mazatzal trail to crash and sever the lacework of nerves at the top of your spine. A mercy that you who don't believe in miracles wake able to mouth the words, "Let me go." After your children smuggle in the dog to lick your face, the hospital sends a slim angel to turn off the machine. So a month later, my father died, but this was a natural death. It was, he was in his 90s and it was not unexpected. This is one of those occasional poems. I wrote it to read for his memorial service. Black walnut in a wooden bowl. Every furrow, gooseberry bush, swarm of bees on a sultry day. A thunderhead closing in fast before the downpour. Each count between the flash and crack as a fierce wind sweeps over our farm. Rutted mud in our abandoned lane, pressed up between bare toes. Every firefly, every slice of lemon meringue pie. Soft snout of the piglet you gave me to feed by hand. Children's tracks through low drifts between house and barn. Mornings at the kitchen table with you reading aloud to mother, my brothers, or me. Each golden book, like the raven, too huge for me to hold alone. Digger pine cones you sent years after those summers living in Yosemite. Every verse of "How much is that doggy in the window?" Each granddaughter humming her own song in the walnut rocker you made for me. Every step, patient or not, with your walker. Each and every time you asked, "How far away is the sea?" So my father's younger sister, Clary, still lives in California, and she's in her 90s now, and she lives in Glendale and is not quite as lucid as she once was, but in her day she was a great Scrabble player. This is called Scrabble Lesson. My daughter eyes a triple letter square, pleads wordlessly until I abandon levity, spell out viral in a less auspicious place. Aunt Clary, a master at 83, smacks down mug above the coveted space. The child sulks in her chair. "Stick around," said Clary. "It just gets worse." So I know there are a lot of writers in this room, and many of us live with people who we either read things to or don't, depending on how it goes. And I'm very lucky to live with someone who is interested in poetry and will actually tell me whether he really likes something or not. So I'm reading this from my husband, Peter. Minestra meritata. We stir the married soup, made from broth that simmered in your grandmother's iron pot at the back of the stove for years. I wield my mother's knife to slice garlic and red onion. You toss in more peppers, humming your evening song. Take it up to a boil and back down to let the flavors blend. Your square, scarred hand ladles out just enough escarole and beef. So I'm going to end, as the book does, with a few poems. I'll just make it a little lighter, a few cancer poems. Sorry. I have to thank my friend Sue Burton for suggesting that I write this poem as a persona poem in the voice of the Scalpel. It's called Scalpel Song. I hum in my sterile packet, steel tip agleam in the dark like starlight, clean as a last plea. Out now, I keen into the white light suffusing the operating room. Can you hear me through your propofol dreams? What did you pray on exhale as you sank under? Sharp as bad news, I don't flinch with pity for the living or the dead. I slice into your skin, taste blood in the first cut, bright red in open air. Your flesh falls to either side of my blade. I bite deep as needed. Your need is deep and wide. I follow lines traced on your left breast, tunnel up to your collarbone, down below the inframammary fold. Your face slack, breast open. You don't see me pare deadly tumors away. Don't think of the hand that holds me, fingertips gloved in plastic. If I carve too far, blame the hand, caffeine, the surgeon's daydream. He peels your breast away. You are lucky, lucky to have me in his hand. Trust me, I was made for this salvation job. Sleep your twilight sleep and wake, amnesic, released. I will be the life of you. We pass like thieves. We pass in the grocery store, wheeling our anonymous carts. We pass invisible as a summer breeze, tubes hidden under loose clothes. We pass marked by scars familiar to our lovers. Like sleepwalkers, our hands graze the banister on the way downstairs. We pass like thieves, stealing each day we can. Like the guilty, cleared of all charges, like innocents, falsely accused. We pass for natives, unremarkable, unscathed. We pass like ghosts of our former selves, sorrows mingling in the air. Like snow geese overhead, we sweep north or south in season. We pass like comets, trailing our cosmic dust. And, I'm going to end with the title poem, Terra Infirma. A gull's wing, tangled in net, stranded at high tide. Scavenging, I don't touch it. No place is safe with the window open, screens off, alligators slithering in the yard. My piece of terra infirma. A slow dance opens the heart. The hole gapes, widens in the gyre. Don't sew me up yet. Let me help you with the buttons, the zipper. I'm in over my heart, The moon, my idea of you, our lips electric. All the women in the exercise room had lost a wrist, usually the left. We woke to morphine dreams, dared to touch our incisions. The alien reconstruction, warm to the touch, gives no milk. The glass eye does not see. I slouch toward the corner store, tubes protruding. Each night I take flight, return in time for toast and eggs. In the dream, my tumors grow wild. Skin bulges over rogue cells. Winter coming on. Rain, slick as saliva. Leaves trapped in ice. I burn a clean path through. Below, cold water. Lake bed, the underworld on fire. Sparks fly from my eyes and mouth, the body capacious as stars. Catch the wheel and spin it into the vast. Thank you all.